Well, the conflict in Gaza and Ukraine has dominated the Munich conference. The death of the Russian opposition leader Alexey Navalny has also sent shockwaves throughout the gathering. Our editor-at-large Yusuf Erim spoke with Michael Gahler, the European Parliament member and the EU's Rapporteur on Ukraine.
We're here on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference, and while the agenda is being dominated by Ukraine and also the war in Gaza, news that Russian opposition politician Alexey Navalny has passed has also sent shockwaves throughout the conference. Now, I'm joined by member of European Parliament, Michael Gahler. I want to ask you about your reactions. You knew Navalny personally. What are your thoughts on his passing?
Yes, I'm devastated to learn that. I think it is yet another proof of the criminal character of the Russian regime. They have killed him. There is no doubt about that. And it's also no coincidence that it is happening in parallel to this conference. We are mourning his death. I knew him. I met him several times in the European Parliament also, and I warned him not to go back home. But he insisted because he said, if I want to play a role, then I have to go home. And, well, we are where we are. We are thinking of his family and friends and of the entire support that he had in the country. And so it's a very sad day, and I'm sure he will be well remembered by the participants here in the conference.
You're also the Rapporteur for Ukraine in European Parliament. What are your thoughts now, 2 years into the conflict, where we're at as the international community, and what's the biggest challenge going forward?
Well, although the news are not focusing exclusively on Ukraine as we speak, the commitments must be reconfirmed and strengthened. We are doing our job on the European Union side with the civilian part. This is the 50 billion package, the Ukraine facility, where I'm also the co-rapporteur, which we passed at the beginning of last week, and the first payments will be done at the beginning of March. That is the civilian part. In parallel, we are doing our military part in a way that we should and we need to increase massively the delivery of weapons in order for Ukraine to be able to stand and to liberate the occupied parts of their country. We are at the same time watching what's ongoing in the U.S. Since the Senate vote with 70 to 29, I'm getting increasingly confident that also in the House we will see a majority. You know, the figures are 219 for Republicans, 212 for Democrats. And once it comes to a vote, and that is the decisive point, I'm pretty confident that not everybody is following the guru Trump, but has its own thoughts, and so that there will be a majority also in the House and to deliver the 60 billion.
I'm following the comments coming out of the conference. It seems the major focus is the war in Ukraine and the war in Gaza. And another issue looming in the background for the international community that might become a crisis in the future, Taiwan. Now, you are head of the EU-Taiwan Friendship Group, so this is an issue that you're following very closely. What are your thoughts on a possible escalation or even an incursion to threaten Taiwan and the Taiwanese people by the Chinese?
Well, we tell the Chinese they should think twice or three times at least before they do unplannable things. We are very much in favor of maintaining the status quo across the Taiwan Strait. I think that serves both parties best. And in spite of the rhetoric from the party leader and president, I think there is more reason prevailing in China on what the consequences thereof would be of such a aggression for the world trade, and China depends far more on world trade links than Russia, because also in China, the pact between the party and the people is, okay, you people, you don't care about politics, that's for the party, and in return, we see to it that you get a better living standard. But that depends essentially on the foreign trade income, and if there were an attack on Taiwan, would have devastating effects on the world economy. And I think reason will prevail, certainly while the war in Ukraine is ongoing, because they are quite closely watching whether it pays off for the Russians, and we will see to it that it will not pay off for the Russians, so that perhaps it also has a preventive effect for sinister ideas by some in Beijing.
Michael Gahler, member of European Parliament, thank you for joining us. We're going to continue following all the developments here at the Munich Security Conference.